What up, guys and girls? It is Bobby
And Sean.
coming at you for another week's episode of the Cronus Cast. Although it is a week plus 1 day, so not quite a week episode, but
Yeah,
close
and
enough.
not quite a we're back. We are present. We are here. So we really didn't miss anything.
Yeah, we're still here. I haven't left. Still here. Not back. Still
Still
here.
here, not back. Uh Bobby, it is the season of the Cronus Scholar. Are you excited?
I am excited. Thanks to you guys, this season, this last year has been a very good year for us, both in terms of stuff like apparel and generating some revenue. So we actually have a nice bit of income that we have banked away and are proud and very pumped to offer an increase in our scholarship offerings. We're now going to do a $2,500 scholarship, so that's $2,500 for those that need to work on the math a little bit.
Math challenged. So
So
for all the infantry
2,500.
types out there, that's a 2, a 5, a 0, 0, and then
A decimal and two
period.
zeros.
That's where the period goes, and then some more zeros.
So, thanks to you guys and kind of the support that we've gotten those last year, especially, buying a new apparel, buying the programs, helping out donations, like we've, kind of started in the past. Our mission is all about giving back to the community, and this is our way of giving back to the community by helping those who have, put the time in while they're in the military and now to get something coming out of the military, just to make that transition a little bit smoother, a little bit easier, and help out with any way that we can.
Yeah, and last year we had a bit of a corporate sponsorship with one of our scholarships from Paragon Recovery. This year, it's 10,000. Two companies that really pushed giving back to veterans and creating a promo code for our listeners and our Cronus fam. So every single year, we've been really grateful to have that kind of support from a larger company to help. But again, $2,500. The window is from now until August 20th. You can go to the website to check it out. It's going to be in a bright yellow tab on the top right of the screen. Essentially, just write two short essays, copy of your DD 214, where you're getting into school, a letter of recommendation, and then just a pic of you in uniform while you were serving. It doesn't have to be anything sexy. And this is also not limited to individuals that strictly serve in soft capacities. I think half of our Cronus Scholars in the last 2 years have been from the conventional side of the house, and then we've had our soft Cronus Scholars. So do not think because you weren't a Green Beret, you weren't a Ranger Regiment, or you're not a PJ, we don't consider that the threshold for our Cronus Scholarship. If you serve and you are going on to do an educational program, it's fair game, competition open, apply away.
Yeah, and then it's been kind of an awesome experience being able to, give out and award these scholarships to the well-serving guys and girls getting out of the military. Both Sean and I have gone through that process, and it, as pretty much as what is it, the ACAP, right? Is ACAP or is something different now? Is it ACAP?
For getting out,
Yeah.
the SFL tab.
Oh yeah, SFL tap. As much as they kind of say, and as good or bad as that program may be,
I think it's
you
post
know,
dependent.
yeah, it's really depending on where you are. So, um, giving you guys a little bit more freedom while the GI Bill kicks in, waiting for for the military to actually pay you after you get out. Those are all things that I experienced and that Sean's experienced kind of in the military and going to school. That hopefully we can help blunt that effect and allow you to really focus on getting out and being successful.
Yeah, Bobby was touching on it. The $2,500, that's going directly to you. That's not going to go to your school. You can certainly use it for tuition if you need to supplement GI Bill or the Yellow Ribbon program at wherever you are going to get this degree from. It can be used for books. It can be used for getting dress clothes if you're going to a business school, or you just need to prepare for on-campus interviews for your first summer job after the military. It can go to rent. It can go to help packing up your family and moving. The point that we're trying to make is this can go to literally anything to help you transition to that next career after the military to become the best professional that you can be in that field. We want you to start off with as little stress as possible because you've done so much already through your service. You're going to be a great mentor to individuals once you get to your school. We just don't want you to have any fear or trepidation getting there.
Great words. Great words. Trepidation.
SAT word.
Yeah. But seriously, guys, really want to emphasize how this is free money, free cash money that will be sent to you. So, if you're interested or anybody that you know, any of your guys are getting out, feel free to send them towards us, send them to our way and drop an application. It is not really that much effort. If you think about it, it's maybe like an hour amount of work for potentially $2,500. And I don't know about you, Sean, but $2,500 for an hour of work seems like a pretty solid deal.
Yeah, I don't bill anywhere near that amount of time, so I would find that quite lucrative for that, especially too if you have a great story and you have a good motivation going back to school. But so that's the Cronus Scholarship that's available again through August 20th. But now that we're getting into the summer months, Bobby and I were just talking before we started recording about some of the pitfalls of training in the summer. You're going to see increases in heat waves across the land. You're going to have instances where you're debating whether or not to do 2-a-days. How far should you run? Should you listen to your body? What's overtraining? What's heat catting? How can you maintain your fluid levels, your salt levels? All these kind of questions. Thankfully, you don't have to rely on me because I am not a doctor, but we do have a doctor on the podcast. So, Bobby, without much further ado, intro, please.
So I will caveat and say this right off the bat. This does not constitute medical advice. Also, I'm a medical doctor, not quite, an exercise physiologist or, someone of that regard that probably might be a little bit better, better equipped to handle some of the more intricacies of electrolyte balances, fluid balances, and things like that.
Legal disclaimer.
But I can speak, a little bit about kind of the general physiology and stuff like that. So I think I actually wrote an article about this a couple of years ago, and I think I did a podcast on this a couple of years ago, like about back when I did the Brain Body Bobby segment back in the day.
Oh yeah, I think was it who is it Megan Stallion that does the body yada 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 yada. I feel
Yeah,
like
Megan
that could have been
Stallion.
a
Yeah,
perfect intro song to you for Bobby Body. What was the other word in that one?
Brain Body
Brain.
Bobby.
Brain Body Bobby Brain Body. Yeah, someone's gonna be more artistic out there. Send us a loop of that.
But yeah, pretty much, I think like half the country, especially the West Coast, is like engulfed in this huge heat wave right now. I think I saw on the news like it's like 120 degrees in like Texas, like 100 and something in like Vegas. It's like 95 degrees right now in Washington. Thankfully, we actually just paid and got central air installed in our house today, so thankfully I'm not dying.
Oh hell
Because
yeah!
last summer it was pretty brutal in the summertime in Washington because nobody in Washington has central air. So that's been nice. But I digress. The big thing with the heat is that with the increased ambient temperature, your body really loses the ability to kind of cool off. When you sweat, the idea of sweating is that you increase the moisture on your skin, and through the process of sublimation of evaporation, the conversion of liquid to gas is what actually cools your body down. So when it's hotter outside, you kind of lose that ability to really, well, it depends also with like the humidity levels as well. So, like in the desert, if it's like hot, if it's hot but it's dry, you can evaporate quicker. So actually cools you down better. But then if you get in the humidity and like the partial pressure of water in the air is increased because the temperature goes up, then you're gonna have less of pressure differential to really evaporate that. So honestly, when it comes to the heat, the biggest thing is humidity rather than temperature, which is why hydration and electrolytes become very key. As your body for sweat, it's primarily sodium chloride is excreted. So you want to make sure that you get a lot of sodium and chloride, also known as table salt, to keep up your electrolyte.
NaCl.
And ACL, so keep up your electrolytes. Back when I was like super into like really training hard, like in like Ranger School and like at RASP 2 even, and for bending in the summertime, I would add like an extra scoop of salt into all my food, and in the summertime in Jersey when I was training really hard, I would actually take like in the morning when I would wake up in the morning, I'd take my cup of water and put like a tablespoon of like pink Himalayan sea salt into it and just chug that. Tasted terrible, but like helps replenish some of those electrolytes that you lost when you sleep, and actually helps rehydrate you because just drinking pure water isn't really good at hydrating you because in order to create urine in your kidneys, you actually lose electrolytes. So you lose some sodium, some potassium, and other electrolytes to create urine. So the more water you drink, actually dehydrates you if you don't replenish your electrolytes, which is
So teaspoon is smaller than a tablespoon.
correct.
Tablespoon is what you need, and most people probably have that in your baking drawer. So if you're all fans of the Great British Baking Show, I'm sure you know exactly what measurement we're talking about.
But just like a spoonful of salt and a cup of water in the morning really goes a long way as far as replacing electrolytes. And actually, a lot of people and a lot of medicine goes like salt is bad for your blood pressure and bad for your diet because basically putting too much salt in kind of increases your blood volume by increasing the sodium in your blood. But for the healthy individual, for anyone listening to this podcast, generally speaking, if you do a little bit extra salt, it won't matter for you because you're able to pee it out. Unless you have like pre-existing like kidney issues or high blood pressure, avoiding the extra bit of salt in the summertime with the increase of work is probably not going to hurt you.
So, how far ahead of a typical PT scheduled 6:30 run should individuals be consuming more electrolyte based drinks? Or at what point do individuals need to have this kind of sustenance in order to properly fuel?
Well, you think about hydration being you hydrate 2 or 3 days before start hydrating 2 or 3 days before your event, whether that's like a planned event. But generally speaking, per day you should be drinking about a half an ounce per pound of body weight. So for me, I'm like 200 pounds, so I need to drink about 100 ounces of water, which is about 12 cups of water or 3 liters of water. So almost a gallon of water, three quarts of water essentially. And that's a
That
generally
was
speaking good.
hard to keep up with
Yeah,
me. So I'm just gonna say I need to drink a decent amount of
yeah.
water.
And
What we
it's not like chugging a half a gallon of water at once is not really gonna do much for you because you're literally just gonna pee it all out. But it's like the progressively keeping up the hydration throughout the day, sipping on water or just getting in little things here and there, especially with food, because food typically has your electrolytes with it. So the more electrolytes you take in with your fluid, the more the fluid actually stays in you rather than you peeing it out.
remember back at Hood in 13 or 14, Division put out that everyone had to walk around with a camelback full of water. And it got a lot of pushback because people didn't think it looked cool in uniform. It doesn't. There's no debate there. But I didn't have a problem with it to maintain health. You don't want people heat catting, then you can't take them out to the field. You're going to have to train in the heat. I think that's one of those things that I've never understood, like the black flag conditions. I get they're bad, especially when you consider airborne school and just standing out there for hours on end. But at the same point, combat doesn't stop when it's hot. So that's why I think if you're taking in proper electrolytes, if you're eating properly, especially at these schools again, where you're going to be eating a decent amount of food in order to maintain that level of exertion, I think we got to stop making excuses to some degree. You just got to get after it.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Yeah, especially like at the schools, like salt is definitely something that is readily available regardless of what school you're at. Ranger school, be it Ranger school when you're getting 2 MREs a day, but even when you're getting the 2 MREs a day, you're still getting like the Sport supplementation and things like that to help you with the hydration. But yeah, it's just a constant effort of drinking throughout the day with food, with electrolytes, to generally keep your hydration level up to par.
What kind of brands, and we're not recommending any brands in particular here, for my Ironman stuff, I use Gatorade, their endurance supplement. You mentioned Sierra Sport. I think like Cliff Bar does an energy electrolyte based supplement. Do you have a favorite? What were you using when you were training up for marathon and ultra?
I was a big fan of the noon tabs. Yeah, the like these salt like hot carbonated tabs that you can drop into your bottles. I always like those. I like a little bit extra carbonation, and then it gives you a pretty good electrolyte blend. But generally speaking, all the products are plus or minus essentially the same thing. You're getting electrolytes mixed in with some kind of fluid, whether it's a concentrated solution like a goo, where you have to dilute it with water. Essentially, like when you take a goo and you're supposed to drink like what 6 or 8 ounces of water with it, to help dilute it, or you take your salt tab and drop it in with your water and drink that. It's all like you know, it all adds up to the same thing.
True. I think there are definitely places in the country that are going to create a higher risk for heat cat and or heat related injuries. What posts would you say were the hottest places that you've ever had to do fitness?
Definitely Fort Benning in the summertime. Fort Benning's one. Uh, Bragg also gets pretty hot too, especially in North Carolina mugginess. I never did. I did PT at at Sam Houston and San Antonio before, but it was like hot, but it was like dry heat, so it didn't. I think it was nearly as bad as Fort Benning, like 110 degrees and in Texas in dry heat. I think is more bearable than 90 degrees at Fort Benning and like 100% humidity. Like there's no comparison to the humidity. Ironically enough, West Point in summertime is also terrible. West
Oh,
Point
really
because
humid up there. Yeah.
it's super humid up there. But general theme is humidity is what makes a big difference rather than temperature.
I think being out in Colorado was awesome because it would just be hot, but it was just hot.
Mm-hmm.
JRTC down at Polk, really humid. But even I don't remember that being too bad. And I was there in the summer a couple of times. Benning was by far the worst. And even living in Savannah, it would be hot, but I don't know. You were relatively close to the ocean, so I feel like that dissipated either humidity. Again, I'm not a meteorologist or anything, but from my personal feeling was that Benning was the worst place to fitness in the summer, bar none. And actually, no, that's going to be our take. The podcast says Benning is the worst place to fitness. There we go. Put that on a bumper sticker.
Yeah, I'd say even Afghanistan summertime, it was like 130 degrees in summertime and you're wearing kit, but you kind of get used to it and you stay pretty hydrated anyway, so it wasn't like and it was just, it was just dry heat, so it wasn't as bad.
Yeah, you just felt like you were getting baked. I never went to Iraq, but people said the comparison was like opening up your oven and just standing in front of it. Afghanistan a couple times like that too, where I just felt like my shoulders were burning through the uniform that I had on, and it was just ungodly hot. And you just had to walk around and hope that you had some water drop somewhere.
Yeah, and that drank a lot of water and Gatorade and stuff like that.
And MedRx, because you had to get jacked. You had to take your pre-workout with you on mission so that you could time when you were getting back to take the pre to do your post analysis, then to hit the gym at the right sweet spot. And you just hoped that the bus was picking you up at the right time and was there for you at the ramp when you got back.
That is like the pro move to do. I was
Yeah.
thinking, what was I thinking about?
Dan be the mission. I'm just working, there for the gains.
What was I gonna say? Oh, we're talking about like training and kind of the training status, right? And like overtraining. Generally speaking, in the classic sense of overtraining, it's kind of difficult to overtrain. Overtraining defined as, although it's quite a nebulous definition of overtraining. It's essentially, you can broadly define it as, training greater than your body can recover from as overtraining, which generally speaking is pretty difficult to do unless you are, more at the apex of an athlete.
So all of
More,
our listeners.
yeah, when you're more trained, it is easier to overtrain, whereas when you're a novice, it's relatively hard to overtrain because counterintuitively, just because you're not able to endure as much training when you're a novice, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. And so for people that are just starting out this programming, then whether it's the military prep or the functional fitness side where they break up their workouts, I've always advocated doing your cardio in the morning when it's cooler out, then go hit the gym maybe for the metcon of the strength if you don't have time to do those three blocks in succession at one point. For someone that is, again, new to this kind of workout mentality, how do you then tell them what they're feeling is maybe not heat related, or maybe it's just a tiredness? What are the signs and symptoms that maybe they should look for when they're new?
As far as overtraining or just in training in
Yeah,
general?
overtraining, and then maybe throw the heat.
So typically, like I think everybody has like their own kind of signs and symptoms of overtraining. Personally, when I'm overtraining and getting to that point, it's like within the workout itself, when I know I'm like getting too tired, is when I start making like stupid mistakes where like I drop a plate on my foot. That's like it happens to me super commonly when I'm like really tired at the end of the workout because I am one, not paying attention very much, and two, just kind of tired and not really like physically with it very much. So for me, if I make a mistake, like drop a plate or like hit myself on like a trip on something, those are usually signs that your body, your fine motor control is suffering a little bit. Which technically speaking, like your fine motor control suffers before your gross motor control. So, towards the end of a workout, if you're start, being losing some coordination, those are good. Those are like pretty solid signs. Just generally speaking, not being as like mentally sharp or is like a sign of getting there to that point. But those are like kind of my like my cues that tell me that I'm getting to that point. But I think everybody has like a little bit of different of how their body gets tired, and then over time you kind of develop your own metric for determining when you're tired.
I have like a pigeon step that I'll look down and I won't lose my balance, but I'll do a shuffle step. And if it's usually I like lean to the right, if my left foot kind of goes over my right in a weird, again, I don't know how to explain it, but I just like get pigeon toed and kind of just list to the right, then I know that I'm really, really tired. And usually within like 30 minutes to 50 minutes after a workout, which is a really precise number, 50 minutes, you might ask, I'll usually sit on the couch and I will feel it and I will be exhausted and want to sleep, and it'll just wreck the rest of the day.
Yeah, but like everyone has like their own cue or tell that they're tired, and for me it's like Sean is a pigeon toed. For me is if I like drop a plate on my foot, which is both painful and also a sign that I should probably start wrapping things
Work on
up.
your forearm grip.
Yeah. But everyone has a little different cues that they should be able to kind of figure out on their own as they get more into it. Um, and then just general, you're gonna feel tired, you're gonna feel sore after working out. That's kind of to be expected. But then with overtraining, that's when you start running into the realm of like overuse injuries or stress related injuries. Things like your shin splints, your tendinitises, your muscle sprains or strains, those kind of like soft tissue issues. Typically for me, over the years, I've noticed that when I start overtraining or if I'm getting too stressed out, I start developing I pull like muscles in my neck because I typically hold a lot of tension in my traps. So if I find myself waking up, my neck feels weird, or if my head feels really stiff, or if I'm working out even and doing like some overhead movements and I feel like I strain my neck, it's probably because I'm either overtraining, overreaching, or I'm too stressed out to be able to recover properly. And that's what leads to kind of my overuse injuries. And that's usually a pattern that usually tells me that, it's time to take a little break and not to push as hard.
In the summer, too, people will sweat more. That's really scientific of me. So, again, I'm bringing something to the table here. Should people anticipate seeing bigger weight losses then in the summer if they are building that sweat equity, as I think one of those like faddish bike companies likes to say to their morning riders? If you're building that sweat equity, should you anticipate you're going to weigh significantly less? And should you be worried? When should you know that it's a bad sign? How should you counteract losing more weight than you are anticipating?
Yeah, absolutely. So, sweat is water, and then even just like standing there throughout the day, by breathing, you're losing water mass. So, you think about it this way, a liter of water is 5 pounds. So, a quart of water is essentially 5 pounds. So is that math right? Yeah, a liter is a kilo, so that's 2 pounds. Excuse me. So a quart of water is about two
2.2.
pounds. So if you lose 5 pounds in a workout, you're essentially losing a half a gallon of water fluid in your body. Your
Wow.
body, you are like 2/3 water. So if you do the math, like a liter of water isn't like that much total volume. But at that point, that's when you start getting the dehydration and the electrolyte disturbances. So anytime, a good rule of thumb in the summertime is to like get a weight pre and post workout, just so you have an idea of how much water you're down, how much volume you need to get back into your body. And that's a good practice that I did back in the day, at the height of my training, was have a good baseline weight and then weigh yourself before and after workouts, or have an idea of how much you sweat, and then at that point that gives you an idea of how much water you need to get back in your body, pretty much in the next like 12 hours after working out.
For instance, I weigh 215. I've done runs even last summer where I was coming off 215 and I was finishing my runs at 206, 207. And I would know sometimes that I had an awful run by how little I weighed when I got back because I felt horrible. And then that was a sign that I did not hydrate effectively the day prior. I probably didn't eat well or time it. I wasn't hydrating during my run. I have, I think it's an Osprey little 1 liter, 2 liter backpack type thing that I run with. I think you had one too.
Mm-hmm.
I can keep goos in there, bars. I've got a handheld water bottle that has maybe half a liter in it that I'll put Gatorade in. So anything longer than an hour, I'm going to consume that. Anything longer than about 2 hours, I'm taking the kit out. And then I'm also planning a recovery stop somewhere to fill back up on water because while I'd like to just continue running, taking 1 minute to stop and get more water so that I'm not finishing just completely emaciated is, I think, worth it for me. And I hope it's worth it for individuals out there to at least train safely.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like if you think about it, if you're not taking the time to stay hydrated and fueled, you're really, experiencing suboptimal training. And then why would you give yourself less, ideal conditions intentionally, unless you are intentionally dehydrating yourself? Then you argue something like that. But you really shouldn't intentionally give yourself less than ideal training conditions that are it's more tougher. It's more physiological tough on your body without giving you the stimulus to get better, if that makes sense.
So let's recap some basic water consumption for an individual that works out in the morning with their platoon doing some sort of cardio, and then for lunch goes after one of our functional programming that you've got on the slate for that day. So I'm waking up, I'm having a glass of water with some salt in the summer months prior to working out, or maybe a Gatorade. I'm finishing that run. I'm going to have some more water. Do you think just water or have an electrolyte replacement then as well?
Yeah, depending, how strenuous the workout is and how much you're sweating. If you're in Fort Benning in the summertime and you do like a platoon workout, like a platoon run and like, platoon workout or squat workout for an hour and a half, you're going to need to get something back in you. So, water, some kind of electrolyte replacement, or just eating breakfast with some extra salt thrown in there,
Okay.
are all going to be like good, solutions or good ways to skin that cat.
Solids. Okay. And then probably within an hour to 2 hours of finishing that meal, we're probably at around 11 o'clock. You're going to go to lunch probably by 12. I would say, what, have another half liter to a liter of just water, just continuing to fuel.
Yeah, continuing, with your food, and that's kind of the trend here is like to drink when you eat, just because that gives you a little bit more ability to hang on to that water, rather than peeing it all out. So, with lunch, throwing a little bit extra salt in there, and then drinking water. If you really want to, you can throw some like, electrolyte in your water. You can do like mineral drops. You could do, whatever floats your boat.
Okay. So now they're going to go do a midday workout. Caffeine, pre workout. all of the stuff that they throw in, niacin to make your skin just absolutely tingle. Does that have a negative impact on your water retention? Is that going to have a negative impact on your ability to hydrate?
So caffeine is a slight diuretic. So if you do drink a pre-workout, you should probably drink some additional. Just be mindful that you might be sweating more and peeing more with a pre-workout. So drinking a little bit more water during your workout, or just staying better hydrated during your workout is going to be a big key. Pre-workout, can be a little dehydrating because unless you how much your water you're drinking, like if you're taking like pre-workout to the face, it's probably gonna be dehydrate you because it's a lot of
It's the only way to take it.
yeah. If you do take the pre-workout to the face, I would definitely drink like a bunch of water with that as well, just to help dilute some of it. Um, but all that stuff is potentially dehydrating, so just being mindful of that and drinking water.
All right, so they finish their workout. We're going to have a post workout shake. Maybe you have a snack. Again, food. I've picked that up, Bobby. Uh, and then mid afternoon, have another glass of water or something. Evening, water with dinner. At what point do you say, okay, you've had enough water for today? Not from maybe a quantity perspective, but like 9 o'clock at night, an hour before bed, 2 hours before bed. When do you usually cut it off?
Typically, I was gonna drink a cup of water before I go to bed, or drink something before I go to bed. The only issue is that you don't want to drink so much water at nighttime that you have to wake up to pee because that really disrupts your sleep cycle. So if you wake up to pee in the middle of the night, then I would definitely try and titrate down how much water you're drinking at the end of the day. Another thing that you can do is actually drink some salt water towards the end of the day. That actually helps prevent you from peeing so much when you're sleeping, which is another pro tip to also get some salt in is at the end of the day before you go to bed, drink some salt water, which both hydrates you and then prevents you from actually peeing as much during your sleep.
All right, so we've hit the water. Last thing I want to talk about, since we're kind of on the subject of nutrition, what foods would you absolutely tell our listeners to avoid in the summer months that could contribute to them having poor workouts? This might even be a year-long topic then, but poor workouts, maybe an increase in dehydration, stuff you should avoid at the DFAC or just at home.
Pretty much anything that's super heavy or fried, and that's just a general rule of thumb. Like the more heavy things are, the more fried things are, the more that it'll take to kind of absorb into your gut, and then it has the potential of making you just not absorb as much food or nutrients.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned fried food because that's a great segue into my next question for you. Both Burger King and McDonald's have recently come out with a fried chicken sandwich. Popeyes is famous for their fried chicken sandwich. I, in fact, live above a Bob White's Burger, which has phenomenal fried chicken sandwiches. What is your favorite fried chicken sandwich and why?
I'm a big Chick-fil-A guy, the
Oh,
OG.
God, I didn't even have them on the list. Ugh.
I had the McDonald's spicy chicken sandwich, which was pretty
Spicy,
good.
isn't it?
It's like a mild sweet heat, almost like a sriracha. It's like
Yes.
sriracha almost. Popeyes is okay. I wasn't super blown away by Popeyes fried chicken sandwich.
Is it the breading that you don't like? Because that's where it was for me, too. It was a little too crisp.
Yeah, it was a little thick breading. Yeah, I was definitely wasn't a huge fan of that. But Chick-fil-A spicy chicken deluxe is my go-to. I will never replace that sandwich.
I never got into Chick-fil-A only because the weirdos at Bullock swore by it too fervently. They were sold on it like religiously to the extent that I said, I don't like you. I don't respect your skills as a soldier. Therefore, I don't respect your choice in chicken sandwiches.
I don't know. I'm a huge fan of Chick-fil-A. Back in Jersey, I lived like walking distance from a Chick-fil-A. So maybe that's why I liked it so much. But great service. You know, very nice people that work there. Really take good pride in their food. I like it. I can't really say any bad about Chick-fil-A.
I completely forgot Zaxby's. I'm so embarrassed. I lived in a walk distance to Zaxby's on Fort Benning off of both Gillespie and Kilgore. Zaxby's nuclear sauce on a fried chicken sandwich. I think it's number 7 on their menu. was by far the spiciest and one of the best fried chicken sandwiches of my life. I absolutely, if I could get that stuff bottled up, I'm gonna have to check Amazon while we're talking. I'm gonna order it. It's phenomenal. One of the things I loved about the revolution of the fried chicken sandwich as it's coming through the mainstream conglomerates is the kind of pickles that they'll throw on, whether their sauce is like a mayo or honey or sriracha. I think I'm really interested also then in the density of the bun. Is it a biscuit? Is it, what kind of bread? Like, is it a sourdough base? There's just so many flavors out there. And that's what's going to get me back into eating fast food. I can just feel it.
Yeah, you already sound like you have a budding fast food addiction right now.
I'm a foodie, man.
I don't know if you call fast food addiction being a foodie. I will say shout out to Bojangles. Bojangles is my favorite fried chicken place in the South. Have you
Oh,
had
I've
Bojangles
never eaten.
before?
No, they had one on Fort Belvoir, but the line was always too long, and so I skipped it. But no, I we have uh, we have Bob White probably at least once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, just because we lived across from Bear Burger in New York City, and that was our little like we order out. We keep telling you guys to eat really healthy, and now you're listening to my eating habits. I'm not the doctor here, okay? I'm his patient. Um, but I like eating a fast food type meal once a week. I know there's no such thing as a cheat meal because it ruins your diet the rest of the week, but I'm fine with that when I have a really, really long workout with my brick days.
You know, everything in moderation. When I was like doing my 20-mile days, running days, I would definitely crush like an entire pizza by myself. Everything in moderation. Um, obviously, like if you're doing like a 1,000 calorie, 2,000 calorie workout, it's very hard to eat 1,000 calories in rice and chicken breast and broccoli. So you have to be a little strategic in getting your calories in some way.
Yeah, after my Poconos triathlon is when I had the spicy chicken from McDonald's, and it was just delicious. I housed a large fry. I housed, I think, the quarter pounder and the chicken sandwich, and I felt wonderful. And then when I got back, I didn't feel so wonderful, and I
Yeah.
wanted to eat healthy again.
Yeah, it always feels like it always tastes great going down, and then like after about 20 or 30 minutes, I start feeling like shit, and that's when I immediately regret eating whatever I just ate.
Yeah, I it's the worst because especially when you're traveling, and we've talked about this at pretty great lengths, whether you're going to the field or moving and PCSing across the country, it's hard to find food on the go that's quick. You can always pack stuff for yourself, but I don't want to eat something that's lukewarm. I want to eat something that's hot. And I think that's the one disadvantage to eating healthy is you can't find a quick spot to pull over and get like a nice hot bowl of quinoa with some sort of a ground healthy lean meat. You gotta lose and just pick your battles between Arby's, Taco Bell, and McDonald's.
I'd actually push back on that because it is coming to the PCS season too. As far as travel eating, when I moved out from Jersey to Washington, that 5 day drive, we actually brought a cooler with us and brought like salad, like pre-made like mixed veggies for like salads in a cooler,
Cold.
cold, correct. And then we had like chicken that we prepped, like meal prepped. So we heated that up, put it in there. Made sandwiches throughout the day as we were driving. Had beef jerky. Try staying not as terrible because if you think about like a 5 day if you go from like cross country a 5 day drive, if you eat like shit for 5 days, it's gonna really hurt your body, or it's gonna not really hurt your body, but it's gonna dig you quite a deep hole.
Absolutely. That's why whenever I picked duty stations, I made sure they were within a 2 day drive, and I would just make it a 2 day drive if it was Benning to Carson or to Hood, living on the edge, just really needing those quick nitro shots and cold brews to sustain me. But I tried eating healthy before, but I always needed a little cooler, and I would just pack my car to the brim, and then what was not dedicated space for my dogs, I really didn't have enough to fit even a foot by foot and a half box with some ice packs in it and a couple sandwiches.
you know for Everyone has their own thing, and that's just a method is packing your own food and then eating on the drive.
And you're right, PCS season
It's here.
Yeah, I didn't put the two and two together because I'm permanently based right now in the tri-state, but I'm seeing a lot of my buddies on Instagram that are moving. You know what's weird is friends now are being promoted to major
Mm-hmm.
and going to their ILE programs, and like the rank that I absolutely hated, that field grade rank, they're there now. And it's like unsettling because I love them, but now I hate them. I hate them because of the rank they wear. Like they are now Sobel to me. They have changed, they have morphed. They are Fiona as an ogre.
Yeah, I'll say it's kind of interesting because I just did surgery on a guy from 275 today, and his commander was one of the junior lieutenants in their company in their battalion when I was there. When I like left, he was had another year left, and now he's a post company commander at 275. So it's kind of funny. If I'd stayed in the field artillery, I'd be looking at wrapping up my post command time, wrapping up my second, whatever post command time, and looking on to ILE right now, or getting ready to go to ILE.
That's one of the benefits I would say of being soft at your like company command assignment is getting to go to ILEs in Rhode Island, in Monterey, instead of going to Fort Leavenworth. I would never, ever wish Fort Leavenworth on anyone. Kansas has Kansas has nothing. There is nothing in Kansas. It is like I-70, wind turbines. I saw one sign for a winery. I don't think it exists. And they have a love for a basketball team that I don't know the last time they won a national championship. I really don't care, but that's it. It's like Alabama. Alabama has University of Alabama, and like that's their staple. That's what everyone hangs their hat on. I couldn't live in a state like that.
Oh yeah, speaking of post command captain slash ILE, with Colonel Puckett's Medal of Honor ceremony, I saw
Yeah, I
some of the
watched that a couple
pictures.
weeks ago.
Yeah, I saw the pictures, and that one major that's standing right there with the medal. That's the White House fellow now, I imagine.
I'm sure if I saw the picture, maybe.
Yeah, he was my when I was a fresh first lieutenant. He was my company commander. And then he was an FA guy. Was 275 FSO, then battalion FSO, and then we crossed paths multiple times on deployments, and then now it's funny seeing his picture next to President Biden giving handing off the Medal of Honor to.
I had no idea that Ralph Puckett did anything with the special forces. Um, I only learned that from, I guess, his uniform that I saw. He had the long tab on there as well, and then I guess he did something with them in Vietnam, I
Vietnam.
think.
Yeah, I didn't know that
Um,
either.
yeah, I just know that the Puckett Highway. I got to meet him at Triple C, just the nicest dude. I say dude, not out of disrespect for a Medal of Honor winner, but he was just a phenomenal person. Always gave back to the Ranger community. Always gave back to the infantry community there at Benning. I think went to every single Ranger graduation that there was. Just someone that lived and breathed for the infantry community as well as the Rangers. It's really cool.
Yeah, I don't know if I told this story before, but during Ranger School doing Malvesti, I remember doing Malvesti and standing there shivering after you do the worm pit, what have you. And there's this old guy that just walking on the sides, like saying, "You can do it, Ranger. You got it, Ranger." Like, and just saying that to everybody. And it's like saying, keep pushing, don't quit, stay with it. I remember turning to some guy like, I was like, "Who is this guy?" And they basically shunned me. It's like, "You idiot! That's Ralph Puckett. You treat with him with respect." It's like, "Don't you know anything?" And I was like, "I was like,
No,
no,
why?
I'm an artillery officer. I don't know shit about this. I've never seen
Yeah,
him before."
I've I've never geeked out about meeting anyone in the military. I've definitely been intimidated by meeting some people in the military, but it's one of those things you stay in long enough, you're going to meet some pretty incredible officers, some pretty incredible non-commissioned officers, individuals that are in really elite units, and individuals that you just want to emulate regardless of what unit that they serve in because they're just phenomenal leaders and they're charismatic. But I've never picked up someone's picture and been, oh my God, do you know who that is? That's so and so. They were there. It's like, yeah, they served in that situation. They served in an exemplary fashion. I mean, like, you hope everyone serves in that capacity when they're put, in front of that gauntlet. But yeah, for people to give you shit for not knowing who he was, that's just that's just like virtue signaling. Like, all right, dude, like,
It is what it
congratulations.
is. I was too tired either way, and I didn't honestly. I was just like whatever, and just kept doing my bestie.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
that image will always stay in my mind of him walking by us, around the track, going like shaking, like going, "You got it, Ranger. Keep pushing.
Yeah,
Don't
every
quit,
man is a
Ranger."
tiger. Yeah, what else did we? Oh, I guess we can. I see it all the time on Instagram now. But arcteryx, I think you have some arcteryx stuff. I
I
know
do, I
a
do.
bunch of friends with pro deals have it. Can you elucidate this issue for me? I have zero idea of what is going on with arcteryx because I am an LL Bean fan. My mom works for LL Bean. I wear Lima Lima Bravo, as we say in the tactical community. I've never worn arcteryx, so you have to tell the viewers that are like me what the hell is going on.
So I just saw it on social media, I think yesterday too, about the whole like, uproar in social media about Arcteryx. Apparently it was like one of their like a gun company was reaching out to Arcteryx for doing an order. Basically the rep was like saying, "Oh, we don't do business with, your kind being like military slash gun community," which I find that to be kind of insane because I don't know like the numbers, but I imagine a good portion of Arcteryx is like goes to government sales slash soft slash cool guy gun nuts that want to look like they're some special operator because they wear Arcteryx.
Yeah, pro deals.
But I do like Arcteryx equipment. They're probably one of the most technically technical gear on the market. So you pay for what you get. A couple Arcteryx jackets. Love the jackets. Not sponsored. However, if Arcteryx does want to sponsor Cronus Fit, more than happy to have that conversation about getting a pro deal with
I got two
Arcteryx.
guns right here that you can outfit. I'm
Uh,
flexing for those of you that are wondering.
but, I think it's just like I think the whole controversy is also like a glimpse into kind of the fragility of the veteran community. How quick the veteran community is quick to get in an uproar when a company or brand or what have you, comes out or has like a stance on something or makes a statement on something. Of course, everyone's like, has such a large reaction, uproar, saying that, you know, you gotta support me. I'm a veteran, or we're the military. You have to support us, and
TYFYS all day.
I think it just highlights kind of the fragility that kind of the military community faces and deals with on a daily basis.
I would definitely agree because this goes back to what we talked about the other day with the commercials that the army ran, where they weren't trying to get you or me to join the military by showing the quote unquote woke advertisement. They were trying to advertise to an individual who maybe didn't think the army was for them or had opportunities for them, based on prior messaging that was way more tailored for individuals like you and me who wanted to see the cool guy stuff and the planes and the explosions. But I completely agree. If they have great clothing, buy the clothing. I just don't understand the, like, everyone complains about the cancel culture. You had individuals that were upset uh, with companies that were really anti-Trump, and then you had Republicans that were really upset about like My Pillow getting canceled. It's like that's just a free market. You can choose to buy into what people are saying, or you can just make your own decision and buy the gear. Personally, I don't own any Arcteryx, but if Arcteryx was going through a slump, I'm guaranteeing that there's probably some good sales coming out. So I would buy Arcteryx if I needed a jacket. I'm not so upset that someone's political motivations is going to detract from my ability to wear something. Again, that's like a First Amendment issue. If you have such a problem with someone else demonstrating their speech because corporations can speak, then what's to say that you're just going to shut everyone off that doesn't sound or look or have the exact same feelings that you do 24/7? I mean, that's how you get into a really polar camp, and you don't see that there's a whole bunch of viewpoints out there that are much different than yours.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I think it's just being, that aspect is getting exacerbated by kind of how the media does things, how social media portrays things. That everyone gets clumped in these camps, and that's the real danger. Facing kind of America these days is this divisiveness and how nobody is willing to meet in the middle and actually discuss, contentious topics or contentious ideas, and that you just label whomever has opposing ideas or contrary ideas to you as either racist or a bigot or a snowflake or woke. You just get labeled by the opposite side over basically whatever it is that you believe, and
Yeah,
that's
everyone's
not.
radical nowadays. There's no one in the middle. And the worst part is we have a lot of veterans that are serving in office that are not coming to the table to meet in the middle. I mean, those are the individuals. That's where you need the leadership. So for all the veteran service members of Congress, of which there are several, why aren't they the ones that are leading discussions? Why aren't they creating their own little cohort of congressmen, congress people, excuse me, to sit down and say, we need to hammer this out. We need to be a unifying force here to get things done, both from the conservative and the liberal side of the house. Instead, they jump into a camp, and again, it's just becoming the regular thing now that the military is a pawn, and it's going to be used to further someone's political ambitions rather than being used to demonstrate the leadership skills that you're supposed to garnish is not the right word, develop. Yeah, sure, develop while you're in uniform. That's one of the things I'm most disappointed by all of the military leaders in Congress.
Yeah, it's kind of a sad um, you know nature and portrayal of kind of politics and the general gestalt of America these days, and kind of how maybe things highlighting how things need to be improved, especially in how things are run in this country.
Well, things that can't be improved, I think, should be the segment that we finish on.
Oh wait, I was gonna talk a little bit on the whole fragility of mental of the uh, military community, and I was gonna bring up. I don't know if you saw this whole thing on 18 Disasters Instagram about essentially
No.
still invaloring the one dude.
Oh, yes, I saw that. The guy who claimed he was like a medic and then fighting the
Yeah,
cartels.
yeah. So if you guys are not tracking this controversy and latest episodes of Stolen Valor, basically there's this like Instagram account of this like pseudo influencer in the military community that said he was like a combat medic in the 82nd, got like a Purple Heart, whatever, and then comes out to be that he never deployed, was a mental health specialist, and is basically still unvaloring this entire story that he's this decorated combat wounded veteran, and all starting from the fact that he like on his Instagram said that he would use tampons. He puts tampons in his IFAC that he carries around, as a hemostatic agent, which that I won't even talk about that. That topic's been like beaten to a dead horse at this point, or dead pulp at this point. But then 18 Disaster pretty much like did an expose on him, which I'm honestly not a huge fan of doing these large exposés and like exposing. I think it's kind of like cyberbullying. Like I love 18 Disaster. I think he's like he does good things. He's a funny memer. But like that kind of borders on me, like falls into the cyberbullying realm of things. I don't know what your thoughts about these are.
I'm torn on this because from the perspective of an individual, and I'm not speaking personally, I'm just saying a general person that signed up to serve, goes and puts their life on the line in an actual deployment, potentially then goes to a special military school or a selection just to serve in the company of great individuals, who then potentially loses their life or has a friend that loses their life in the service to this country in that unit. To see someone then try to take credit for service that you or your friends had, that doesn't sit right with me. I don't like veterans that claim stolen valor, and I've got a problem with cyber bullying, not as much as I do to in-person stuff, because turn your phone off or get rid of your app. You don't need to be on social media. Like, honestly, you can go without it. You'll probably be a much better person for it. So I the expose thing is whatever. If you want to put energy and effort into it, he was also given multiple times, I think, by the channel to correct, and he took that risk. Game theory. He ran the table and tried to get away with it, and he tried to take credit for something he didn't do. So, like, you shouldn't be able to profit off of that. But going back to the cyberbullying thing, I don't know where the happy medium is. It's just it's almost like one of those things you could argue, does society need some bullying? I was really bullied in middle school and early in high school, and I hated it. But I feel like I'm a much stronger individual having gone through it, have a little bit of tolerance for people's language, and understands that individuals can grow and be better than what they were in their adolescence, and hopefully can grow and mature through their adulthood. They don't have to remain at this current state. But I don't know, man. That whole stolen valor thing just rubs me the wrong way, especially because we're coming off a period of war. I think at any other time I wouldn't care, but you can't take credit for people that have really put it all on the line when you haven't.
Yeah, I'm gonna push back a little bit on the whole bullying thing, and that I think broad strokes bullying is a bad thing. Like, you shouldn't bully anybody else, and
Sure.
it just literally just highlights how the bully is how weak and insecure that person is. And I don't necessarily think that you need bullying to make you a better human being in the future. I think you can develop
No,
grit,
but it built some
determination.
resiliency.
Sure, but you also build resiliency by not being bullied too, and I think that's a poor a poor method of building resiliency, because it doesn't necessarily build resiliency in everybody in that method. Like, it could very much easily drive somebody to severe depression, mental illness, and those kind of things. So
Sure.
I would not say that bullying is a method of developing resiliency. It is a way, but I would not like condone that and
I
say I'll
wouldn't
push
say it's
back
a
on that.
primary. Yeah, absolutely not. I think with bullying, for me, coming out of it was, there's the resiliency factor. There's acknowledging that people are making up for their own insecurities, and coming out of it, looking back, knowing what I won't do to another person. That being said, too, there's also, is it bullying or is it just being mean? Like, I can be brutally honest to somebody. That I don't consider bullying. Bullying, I think, is like targeted attacks, unwarranted. Like, if you're making comments back to somebody in the course of a dialogue that's just brutal, it's where you draw the bullying line.
Yeah, I don't know. Being mean to somebody, I would say, is kind of similar to bullying somebody. I don't know. It's like, you know, and you see a type of thing, but I would definitely say,
Right.
I was a bully at some points in my life. I was a bully at some points in my life. Either way, it's not pleasant for anybody involved. And while you're going through it as either the recipient or whomever or the giver, you don't really understand or really appreciate it. It's only until after the fact that looking back on things, reflect on things, and understand how things went. Um, but yeah, I would say that not probably not something that I would say is a good thing.
Yeah, I'm not advocating for bullying. I'm just saying, in this online context, I don't have a problem with what that Instagram did, because the guy could have corrected himself. He could have been honest. At the end of the day, that's the biggest issue. This person was dishonest. So it's, do I feel worse for their comeuppings because they were dishonest, or do I feel bad because the manner in which they were exposed?
So my issue with the situation is that, in my mind, a lot of stolen valor is like almost mental illness. Like, this dude, if you like read like kind of the expose and kind of the story, like the text message exchanges between the two of them, it really much read like somebody with like a legitimate mental illness, like thinking
Oh,
like a
for sure, 100%.
delusional disorder. And that's why it's like I feel like that's more bullying than exposing somebody, because literally this dude believed that he'd done these things and that he, had like we in psychiatry it's like a delusional disorder. We are so wrapped up, like like Shutter Island, Shutter Island, the movie Shutter Island.
Great movie.
But the whole premise
VOD.
of the movie is that he is, in his mind, he thinks this is real, even though people keep telling him that it's not real. But his mind, creates this elaborate scheme as a defense mechanism. And I think, with some of these stolen valor cases, that these individuals, whether through like some kind of trauma that, notwithstanding the battlefield, but, this dude was a mental health counselor essentially. So who knows like what trauma he experienced talking to other people that did deploy and were wounded, that shared the transference of trauma to him maybe caused him to create this delusion inside his mind that he was this wounded, like this combat wounded person individual. So it's hard to really chalk it up as stolen valor or like as like a legitimate mental illness, which I think this guy might have a legitimate mental illness.
Sure, but that's a problem. How are you supposed to know about everyone's mental illness that is saying this stolen valor stuff? Like how are we supposed to know when someone puts out on the social media that that's not really what they did? They're just suffering, so we shouldn't call it out.
But that's like the point I'm trying to make is that we don't know, and that not everyone that is doing stolen valor is a piece of shit that thinks that that is trying to get like free gear or trying to get a book deal for something they didn't do. It might honestly just be somebody that has a mental illness and doesn't really understand what's going on, or doesn't have the awareness or self-awareness to realize what's going on around them, and thinks that this is all like some elaborate fantasy that they're living. And that's where it's really hard to draw that line. So I don't really know what the right answer is, but to me the whole situation kind of bordered on cyberbullying rather than exposing the truth, which it really depends on how you look at it. But I just want to bring that up and just share it to the audience that just because somebody says they did something, whether it's for personal gain or for what have you, like have a little bit of self-control, and don't put somebody on blast because they are lying about their service or what have you, because you never know why they're doing something.
I guess another way you could look at it is, like we said last week with the trans women playing in high school sports. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
This is online. So if someone has this image that they're, a Delta operator who also was a banana boat operator and ranger instructor, and they weren't. Who cares? Does it affect you going to get groceries? Does it affect you watching F1 on Sunday? Who cares?
But I think it does matter if this person is getting like the benefits associated with somebody of that class or caliber.
Then I would say
And that's the thing.
contact those companies. If you have overwhelming data, just contact the company. Make them cut the band-aid.
Isn't stolen valor like a
It's a crime.
crime now, right?
Yeah, I don't know how you prosecute. I've never seen it.
Yeah, I just know that maybe that's, instead of putting something on blast social media, maybe actually put the effort in and report them or something for fraud or whatever stolen valor it is now.
Yeah, that's true.
But
Well,
that's just the point that I was trying to make, is that I think a lot of time military community, and it's kind of funny, like it's amusing when these like meme accounts kind of like go on like a bullying rampage or what have you, and like destroy this account and destroy this account. It's kind of funny and entertaining, but there's probably some like real life consequences of these actions too. But who
yeah,
knows?
like if he has kids, uh, if he's built this image up beyond just this online platform, if his wife or his girlfriend or his boyfriend, I don't know who, but if they think that he was this great hero and he's not, and that will have bigger life level impacts than just having to start a new username.
Yeah, I guess the point that I'm trying to make is treat everyone with kindness. Don't be an asshole on social media, because it doesn't really do anything for you. It might make you feel good, give you a little dopamine hit, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's social media. It's not real. but then it can have real life consequences on other people that you never meet in real life and see the real life consequences.
So we can end on a positive note here because that reminded me of Patrick Swayze from Roadhouse. He says, "Be nice, just be nice."
It's be
If you
cool.
haven't seen Roadhouse, you should turn the podcast off and just watch. But be nice.
Um, but yeah, we should probably end with something like on a positive note.
That was a positive note. I just quoted Patrick Swayze.
But like that was just like
Okay, fine,
a
fine.
little
Real
fun.
positive note. I thought the zombie movie in Las Vegas was absolutely phenomenal. Army of the Dead.
It was not. I mean, like I maybe it's just went with the wrong idea. Like I should have literally turned my brain off from the get go when I first started. I should
Yeah,
just turn my
I don't know
brain
why you
off. I
didn't.
really had to flip this. Didn't flip the switch off, and I just kept thinking, I was like, this makes no sense, which is my mistake.
Dave
Like
Bautista, Dave Bautista, Dave
I
Bautista.
know I really
Like
should just turn my brain off. And really,
he's a phenom. I mean, the whole movie he looked like he was holding in a sneeze, and I got that joke from someone on the YouTube, so I'm not taking credit for it. But if you watch the Easter eggs from that movie, I have so much deeper of an appreciation for Zack Schneider and the little clues that he made to the like mythology that was involved in there, the lines that each one of the characters has. It's funny, it's witty. We talk about the heat. The zombies suffered in the heat of Las Vegas and essentially like stuck and were glued together and fried in the desert air of Las Vegas. Like I just thought it was really creative. It was really really entertaining. I love that the movies are starting to use stunt workers and stunt people in more than just a behind the scenes capacity because both the person that played Zeus, the Queen, I think they were stunt workers, and now they're getting like these kind of leading roles where like Dave Bautista probably wouldn't have a real leading role, not but for his WWE experience if he were to be an actor. But now you see like a lot of this physical kind of acting, I think, coming back, and I'm glad Zack Schneider highlighted it.
that's a good point. Yeah, I generally think I will admit that I messed up and did not turn my brain off before going to the movie. There are definitely entertaining points of the movie. I agree. Some good points there.
And King Kong versus Godzilla is another one.
I
Phenomenal movie. I had a
thoroughly enjoyed that
blast watching
movie.
that.
I thoroughly enjoyed Kong vs Godzilla. That was pretty dope.
Yeah, that was a great movie. HBO's had a pretty good couple releases here, but that does not compare to Patrick Swayze. Be nice.
It'd be nice. I was gonna talk. Oh, Rick and Morty's back. I've not watched it yet
Oh, I
though.
saw episode 5 or season 5, episode 1 today
Ooh,
during lunch.
I
It's
meant to
great.
watch it so that we could talk about it today, but I did not get around to it.
They're back. It's another great episode. I thought some of season 4 was whatever, but this is a good start to 5.
Okay, good. Good. We can talk about it next week.
All right, we're rambling. We'll have 2 episodes to talk about.
All right. I guess we'll start wrapping it up. Any closing comments, Sean?
Apply to Cronus Scholars. Don't be a loser.
Apply to Cronus Scholars. Get after it. Stay hydrated. Enjoy the heat. Enjoy PCS season. And have a good summer. Keep pushing hard. Keep driving. And then I guess we'll see you guys next time.
Be nice. Peace.
Peace.